Store gresshoppesvermer og tørke herjet I fjor. Nå det ikke mer mat igjen. Den neste måneden blir avgjørende.
July the 22nd, Jan Egeland states during a press conference in Geneva that there is a full-blown catastrophe in Niger.
Det tragiske at vi kom for sent I gang. Mange av barna nå så utmagrede at de vil dø. Men Norge, som alle andre land, var for sene I Niger. Så enkelt det bare. Ingen land reagerte tidsnok.
Var det en sultkatastrofe I 2005 I Niger?
Ja, du kan definere sultkatastrofe på mange måter, men ja, så mange, du nesten spør Leger uten grenser, hvorfor de så på dette som den mest krevende av deres operasjoner I 2005. De satset mer I Niger enn de satset I Darfur. Så ja, det var jo en sultkatastrofe.
The Norwegian Johanna Sekenes was in charge of Doctors Without Borders in Niger. She doesn't agree with Jan Egeland.
Det var ikke en generalisert underernæringskrise, eller en sultekrise, eller famine, som man sier på engelsk. Fordi at voksne, ungdommer, hadde det nok så greit. Altså, de har det ikke greit I Niger generelt sett, men I forhold til en sultkatastrofe så var det ikke det. De var ikke rammet som de små barna.
Du kan ikke si at det var en generell sultkatastrofe. Men det fungerte veldig godt I mediene her da, å kalle det en sultkatastrofe.
Ja,
det var det som fikk folk til å få øynene opp for det.
Det gjør det sikkert. Og det var sikkert derfor så mange brukte det.
Since Doctors Without Borders came to Niger in 2001, they've built new hospitals and increased their capacity for giving treatment. There was a big increase in their treatment of women with small children in the spring and summer of 2005.
From 1 week to another, we have an increase of 100 to 200 children a week, which is of course worrying.
In the spring and early summer of 2005, Doctors Without Borders issued several press releases with information about high death rates and the need for urgent treatment of malnourished children in the areas of Niger where they were active.
Hvem fikk du respons fra først?
Responsen kom fra media. Når vi ikke fikk respons fra de andre aktørene, da skrev vi en press release, og media kom. Og det var en stor medieuppbåd som kom.
Jan Egeland kjemper for millioner av døyende I Niger. Nå våkner endelig været.
But it took TV pictures to put Niger on the agenda.
Well, I think it is the sad truth that one of the things that brings crises like this to people's attention is indeed the fact that we see those pictures on our television screens.
In a small town north of New York City lives a man who has lived a long and dramatic life in Africa. For many years, he was an idealistic relief worker for many large organizations. Later, an award-winning reporter and author.
That's me in the desert, and you know, this is from my famine relief days. That's in Kakuma, Kenya. That's when I was working with Catholic Relief. That was a famine area in northwestern Kenya. I did this. I made my name and reputation as a young journalist in Africa. You know, if somebody offered me a flight somewhere in some rickety little plane, I was on it. Because there are journalists who've made their reputations, just quote-unquote, discovering famines in Ethiopia in the mid-'80s and in Somalia in the 90s. And so, you know, so you get on the plane and things look pretty bad. What you don't know is that things are always pretty bad right there. People generally live like that. They're poor. They have no money. And so not only do you write about the famine, but the more interesting story for the Westerners is, well, the West is ignoring this famine. Nobody knows about it. I have the story that nobody else has. And then aid groups go in there, and the more aid groups go in, and then you start seeing the aid trucks and the little, you know, they've all got their flags. It gives it the look of a disaster. Then you have the full-blown story because everybody's there and the reporters are there and all the aid groups are there. And you have, in fact, created a disaster that wasn't there to begin with.
It's February 2008. We're on our way to a small farm in the American state of Vermont, right on the Canadian border. This is where the award-winning BBC reporter and former Africa correspondent Hilary Anderson now lives.
The BBC has a lot of credibility, yeah, and that puts an onus on us as the reporters for the BBC to get it right. You know, it's a huge responsibility. We did get it right. We broke the story.
Hilary Anderson's first story was broadcast on July the 17th, 2005. In the following days and weeks, dramatic reports about the famine in Niger could be seen all over the world. This is the first time the Garvey family sees this, when we show them the news reports from TV2 and the BBC from the summer of 2005. According to the media, the famine was caused by drought and a massive invasion of locusts.
It was a plague of locusts across the region, followed by bad drought, which tipped Niger into the present crisis.
Ja, det där bara tullball i alla fall.
De gräshopporna kom aldrig till oss.
Det bara tullball.
Och det var ingen törke. Och det var väldigt lokaliserat. En del törke var lokaliserat och det var inte så mycket gräshoppeinvasion heller.
A failed crop and a plague of locusts.
But was it a plague of locusts? I mean,
Locusts
many
came
has
through.
disagreed.
Locusts came through and destroyed crops.
Not in Niger. I mean, there were locusts problem in Sahel area, but was it really a problem in Niger?
I wasn't there for the locust problem because that happened way prior to when the food crisis broke out, and we were there. But yes, there certainly was a locust problem in Niger. People talked about it who'd seen it, that we spoke to, who were there. Their crops had been destroyed by it. There are pictures of it. There's television footage of it in Niger that I've seen.
A picture seen in many of the news reports from Niger was this dead cow.
We journeyed north through Niger's deserts and entered a valley of death.
Det må ju vara en trafikulycka, eller så spiser de det.
Men fotograferna, ja, de fann en ku som var död och hade törkat in. Som man gör då i öknen. Alltså, dör du så törkar du in i öknen.
Varför dödade kua?
Ja, alltså han blev påkörd av en bil. Och journalisten stod runt den här kua och tog bilder av den kua för oss. Och visade hur stor krisen var. Men den kua representerade ju inte krisen i det hela tatt.
We didn't just film one dead cow. I mean, we saw numerous ones, and I believe I used them.
And you filmed them as well?
Yeah.
But didn't use them in the reportages?
I believe we used them, yeah. And I'm thinking this pile. I remember this pile of them that we saw in one place.
Her most dramatic TV and internet reports are from the burials of small children close to the Doctors Without Borders facilities.
This 1-year-old couldn't fight a famine far bigger than him. No one's even counted how many have already died. It all shows quite clearly that Africa's easily forgotten until, yet again, it's too late. Hilary Anderson, BBC News in southern Niger.
Hon säger no one has even counted how many have died. Men det är en av de rara tingene, att hvorfor finnes det ingen beregninger på hvor mange det var som døde?
På MSF-sentrene.
Er dette en beskrivelse du kjenner igjen fra et Leger uten grensesenter?
Jag är inte enig i den beskrivelsen att det är sån det går till. Hver patientjournal har ju namnet på ungen. Och hver patientjournal på de som är döda, den blir ju lagt den som är död, akkurat som på alla sjukhus i hela världen.
September 23rd from the Cinder reportage.